If you could sum up God in one word, no, you couldn't. Not even close. But thankfully, God tells us what he's like, and theologians have found helpful ways to group his attributes. So let's take a flyover. When we talk about God's attributes, we're not handing out personality traits like it's a dating profile. For instance, if someone were to talk about me, they might say, oh, Chris is kind of quiet, he's a bit introverted, he's a night owl. If someone were to talk about Brenton, they might describe him as a golden retriever in a human body. But that's not what we're talking about when we talk about God's attributes. We're describing the perfections of his being, who he really is as he reveals himself in Scripture. We're talking about the nature of God. And so we can separate these into two broad categories. We have incommunicable attributes, which are the ones that belong to God alone, and we don't share those. Things like aseity, God's self existence. God exists in and of himself. He doesn't need anyone or anything. We, on the other hand, start falling apart if we haven't drank enough water. Reminder, drink some water. Another attribute might be the omnis. God is all knowing and all powerful and everywhere present. Then you have another category that we call the communicable attributes. And these are the things that we do share, although never perfectly, with God. Things like love. In First John, you have the statement that God is love. God is perfectly love. And then you have God's holiness. Isaiah chapter 6 talks about this very clearly. He is perfectly set apart, and we are called to be holy as well. Though, if you've ever stubbed your toe in the dark, you know how quickly holiness evaporates. These aren't abstract categories for seminary shelves, they're glimpses of God's glory. The attributes remind us that He is far above us, and yet He has drawn near to us. And knowing Him more deeply fuels how we worship Him. I know that this has been personally attested to in my own life. When I studied these attributes, my worship was so elevated. So, can you sum up God in one word? Not really, but you can describe him truthfully: holy, merciful, almighty, love. This overview is just the map, and next we're going to start walking the terrain. We're going to look at these attributes closer. And it's not just trivia for us to know. Remember that. It's worship fuel. Are there any attributes of God that you can think of that encourage you the most?